The film opens by introducing a woman named Renee Morgan, a single mother who lives with her son Evan. It's revealed that Renee is divorced from her ex-husband Cliff and now raises Evan on her own. Early one morning, Renee is startled in the bathroom when she spots a spider. Overcome with fear, she screams loudly. It becomes clear that Renee suffers from a deep phobia of spiders, an intense, irrational fear that has affected her for years. Evan, already familiar with his mother's fear, rushes in to help and calmly removes the spider from the bathroom. Evan is shown to be a bright and capable student, excelling in most subjects at school. However, there's one area where he struggles: mathematics. Despite his academic abilities, math continues to be his weakness, and Renee often encourages him to keep trying his best. After breakfast, Evan prepares for a short stay at his father Cliff's house. As part of her routine, Renee discreetly slips a box cutter into the pocket of her pants, something she always carries just in case of an emergency. Once they finish their morning routine, Renee drives Evan to Cliff's house. Unbeknownst to her, a mysterious figure has been following her vehicle at a distance.
Pick him up at 5 p.m., because I got a date Tuesday night.
You should know. He heard you cursing at me.
Well, when was that?
Eventually, they arrive safely at Cliff's home. Evan gets out with his backpack and says goodbye to his mother, ready to spend a few days with his father. Renee, unaware of what's to come, heads back out. She has plans to meet a friend later at a pool, looking forward to a rare moment of relaxation. But on the way there, something unexpected happens. Her car's tire suddenly bursts. Earlier, it's revealed that someone had tampered with her car. An unidentified bald man placed a device on the tire, causing the explosion. Forced to stop in the middle of the road, Renee gets out to inspect the damage. Moments later, a van pulls up, and two strangers get out, offering to help. Grateful and unsuspecting, Renee agrees, relieved that someone is willing to lend a hand. But as the two men begin to help, their behavior becomes increasingly suspicious. They look around, scanning the area. Then, without warning, they seize Renee and forcefully restrain her. She is taken to the back of the van, her hands bound. One of the captors, a woman, tells Renee that the journey will be long. To make things easier, the woman cuts open part of Renee's pants, something meant to assist with bathroom needs during the trip. After the woman leaves, Renee struggles to reach into her pocket for the box cutter she hid earlier. The van drives for hours. When it finally stops, Renee arrives at an unfamiliar facility. There, she discovers she is not the only one being held captive. Other people are being detained too, some silent, some confused, all clearly unaware of why they were taken. Inside the strange holding area, a man approaches Renee and instructs her to remember a specific code. She doesn't understand the purpose of the number, nor what will happen if she forgets it. Still shaken, Renee is then led to a small, locked room. There, isolated and bound, she begins to comprehend the terrifying situation she's in. As the silence stretches, Renee hears a voice coming through a nearby air vent. The voice belongs to another captive named Blake, who begins speaking to her from the adjacent room. Blake explains that everyone here is part of an experiment. Each of them is being forced to confront their deepest fear. In Renee's case, her well-known phobia of spiders is being targeted. The people running the facility plan to expose her to spiders in order to test her reaction. Blake has already been through his own encounters and warns Renee to be ready. While talking, Renee secretly removes her shoe and retrieves the box cutter hidden inside. Blake continues to share what he knows. He estimates there are around 20 people being held here as part of the experiment. Strangely, a few of the subjects have been released, though no one knows why. Renee suspects they weren't truly released at all but may have died during testing. Soon after, the bald man and a woman named Dr. Diane enter Renee's room. They begin to ask Renee questions: her height, her weight, the condition of her vision. They examine her, take blood samples, and record the results, seemingly preparing her for something. After they leave, Renee once again focuses on freeing herself. She continues sawing through the restraint, but accidentally cuts her hand. In the process, the box cutter slips from her grasp and falls to the floor, out of reach. At that very moment, Dr. Raxlin and Dr. Diane return. Without much explanation, they inject Renee with a sedative, and she quickly loses consciousness. When Renee wakes up, she finds herself in a completely different room. The lighting is cold and clinical. In front of her, placed in a glass container, is a large spider, much bigger than any she's ever seen before. As soon as she lays eyes on it, panic overtakes her. She screams and thrashes, paralyzed by fear. The staff observe her reaction carefully, making notes. Eventually, the session is ended. The staff stop the experiment after concluding that Renee is not yet ready for further exposure. But this is only the beginning of what they have planned for her. Renee is returned to the same room she had been kept in earlier. Once the captors leave, she wastes no time. She quickly resumes her efforts to free herself, finally managing to slip out of her restraints. She retrieves the duct tape and the box cutter she had previously dropped. Determined to escape, Renee decides to crawl through the building's ventilation system, using pieces of duct tape to mark her path and avoid getting lost in the maze of vents. As she navigates the ducts, she witnesses several disturbing experiments taking place in different rooms. People are being forced to confront their worst fears. Some are suspended from great heights, while others are submerged in bathtubs filled with water, struggling to breathe. Feeling the urge to relieve herself, Renee stops at a restroom. While hiding, she overhears two people discussing the facility's operations. From their conversation, she learns that there are 47 subjects currently being tested. Once they leave, she quietly slips back into the ventilation system and continues her search for an exit. But despite her efforts, she keeps ending up in dead ends, unable to find a way out. Eventually, Renee stumbles upon Blake again, confined in another room. She urges him to escape with her, but Blake refuses. He believes he's close to being released, convinced that passing his fear test, this time involving snakes, will earn him his freedom. Renee, however, is skeptical. She fears that the promise of release may be just another layer of manipulation. Their conversation is cut short when Dr. Raxlin and the others enter Blake's room. Renee hides under his bed just in time. Blake is prepped for what seems to be his final test. As his bed is rolled away, Renee takes advantage of the distraction to sneak out and resume exploring the facility. She eventually finds herself near a control room where she eavesdrops on a conversation between the doctors. They speak in grave tones, acknowledging the failure of several previous subjects and the mounting number of casualties. They also mention that Renee is their last viable hope. She will be subjected to one final test. Alarmed by what she hears, Renee hurries back to her room. She rebinds her hands and lies down as if she had never escaped, trying to make it seem as though nothing had happened. Moments later, Dr. Diane enters with a syringe, preparing her for the final phase of testing. But before injecting her, something strange happens. Her face begins to distort, becoming inhuman. This brief moment of distraction is all Renee needs. With swift reflexes, she grabs the syringe and plunges it into Dr. Diane instead. She collapses almost instantly. Renee ties her to the bed and drags her through the facility, hoping to use her as leverage or at least gain access to new areas. She reaches a lab where she finds rows of labeled containers, DNA samples from test subjects abducted from around the world. Her shock deepens. Everything she suspected is confirmed. This entire operation is global, and no one is safe. Unfortunately, her movements don't go unnoticed. The doctors quickly catch on and Renee is recaptured. This time, they prepare her for the final test, determined to push her beyond her fear once and for all. They place a clear mask over her face and prepare to release a large spider inside the enclosure. Renee panics, thrashing and screaming as the spider crawls toward her face. She slams her head against the wall in terror. But as the minutes pass, something changes. Her panic fades. She stops struggling. The fear seems to dissolve, replaced by something else. Her face begins to change, subtly at first, then drastically. It shifts and reshapes, mirroring the transformation Dr. Diane had experienced earlier. The serum previously injected into her is now taking full effect. The scientists observe closely. This is what they wanted. Proof that fear can be neutralized, that humans can be reshaped. According to the facility's philosophy, fear is a defect, something that must be eradicated. They believe humans can be reborn, emotionally and biologically, into a superior form. And Renee, having survived the final trial, is now proof of that theory. They declare her ready to be recruited into their ranks. But the process isn't finished. The doctors inform Renee that they now intend to bring her son, Evan, into the program. They know Evan struggles with math, and they see this as a flaw, something to be corrected. They believe they can rebuild him with enhanced intelligence, just as they corrected Renee's fear. Later, back at home, Evan senses that something about his mother has changed. She no longer reacts to spiders, not even with a hint of fear. She acts calmer, colder, strangely detached. Renee then tells Evan that she wants to take him to meet someone very intelligent, referring to Dr. Diane and the others. Evan, suspicious and uncomfortable, refuses. He retreats to his room instead. Shortly after, the bald man who kidnapped Renee at the beginning arrives at the house, ready to take Evan. But in a sudden moment of clarity, Renee changes her mind. She tells Evan to run, to escape and never look back. A man named Terrence watches, then calmly says he won't chase Evan. Not now. But he promises that one day he will find Evan, and when he does, he will ensure that Evan is reborn into something greater. And with that, the film ends.
If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing, you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.